Good afternoon. It's another year of SEO on the beach, and I'm here to tell you about something interesting. Can we have some silence, please? So, I am going to tell you about SEO funnels. These are very cool, and I'm also going to talk about indexation up to GA4. My name is Iñaki Huerta. I am Director of Master of Analytics in Webpositor Academy and an SEO specialist and digital analyst. This is a good master's program, just to tell you. I have also brought with my Iñaki Huerta, who you can see in the picture on the right. So that's the guy who's here on the beach. And you can see what you can do with a photo. You have a normal photo and you can tune it so it looks like you're on the beach. That's quite useful. And now I'm going to talk about the SEO funnels. Unfortunately, when I asked ChatGPT if it could come on the stage of SEO on the beach and explain what SEO funnels are, it said that it was AI and it couldn't physically go on the stage. So I would have to do it myself. In SEO, we look at a lot of data and we analyze very few data. There's a lot of work involved, and we're looking at the analytical side, all of us. But the data, we actually don't analyze all of it. So I'm going to explain to you what our perception is for analyzing data. Regardless of what the data is, they are only useful for helping you to make decisions, nothing else. So you take data and you use it for making the right decisions. But to make decisions, there are different ways of being supported by data. First, you can make decisions in a data-driven way. So data helps you mark which decision to make. And this is not something we generally do, but it's possible, and sometimes we have to do it in our work. Other ways of working are, for instance, being data informed. This means summing up the data that we have and using the strategy, using data kit, and then using this data to decide how to react. Like I would go over the data and I would decide which aspects of the data to take into account. The third way of working is to be data inspired. So I would use the data in order to help me decide what to do. These are the three ways of working. Each of you work perhaps more in one of these ways. You tend to have a preference. There are people who work on data and rely on them completely. There are others who use a lot of different channels but don't necessarily use all this data. And we use graph data, but it's all like little bits of information here and there. So that's the last one. That was a data-inspired way of working. Let me give you a simple example of applying keyword research. In data-driven, if I don't have any preconceived ideas, I can just have as many keywords as possible, and then I can see if if the keywords work for me or not. Data informed and data inspired are a bit different, and I would make a keyword research, and I would get in the first one I would have SEO Palma here as an example, and I'm going to use this as objective keyword. In data informed, I would go for SEO and Palma de Mallorca. So I'm going to put my bets on that. And finally, SEO Mallorca, Palma de Mallorca as data inspired. So there are different actions that you need for each of these ways of working. And you need different ways to work with them. In data-driven, the metrics are the decisive ones. The metrics have to be exact, have to have high quality, and explain what is the complete reality in SEO. Like in Google, you can see all the work, all the words, all the search results. In data-informed, you need to look at the quality. So the keywords need to be exact and have the quality. But if you go and work in data-inspired way, quality is the main thing. Of course, we need to use data-inspired way of working a lot. But if you use optimization, this is forbidden, because otherwise you don't learn. The results are something that you always know that are already there. So we cannot rely on that. Therefore, we need to get rid of some data which we know is not relevant, not useful, and that means we need to be more like inventors of data. So this is how it would work. So let's see the funnels as a tool that can help you in all of that. What is a funnel, and how can it help me to make sure I don't make up things and I have to invent the wheel? Well, it all depends on what kind of questions you have. Depends on the sector. And we can talk about funnelization, and anything that's data-based can really be funnelized. In our context, we're going to look at these two types of funnels. The first one to create, and the second one to optimize. So, how to act? Cooking your data, this is the one that we need. Let's continue from here, and let me explain the funnelization process. You have the beginning of the process and the process being carried out. But the fact is that if I only use this original data, then I'm data inspired because I only have the result. I don't have to do anything myself. But if I take the whole journey, then I have to look at what has worked, what has not worked. So let me see. We have the example here as the Perseo has arrived late to SEonthebeach. So we can ask what has happened, why did he arrive late, and why was he sweating? We have no idea. Maybe he had a nosebleed, maybe he had a health problem. So we only know the result that he arrived, but he arrived late and he was sweating. So the possible reasons are endless. Perhaps he was in his apartment, maybe he arrived a bit too late, but I don't know if he was actually sleeping or not. Maybe he said to someone on WhatsApp that he was coming late, but we don't know if the message arrived. So what we know is that something happened, and we need to know what happened before those events. And this is FCU. Do you know what FCU stands for? It's fucking core update. And this is the moment where we need to have some inspiration. It's important to know that because we need to avoid the penalization of search result decrease. We cannot expect the situation after a core update to be the same for everyone. So we need to take into account the approximation of segments. And for some companies, they are not affected as much as others. So at that point, I want to set my focus on the SEO funnel. This is what should help you always be sure of what is happening. This is very simple, and first we have existing URLs. People don't really like to check Google IV Squad conversions, but it's important to do that. The problem could be anywhere. The problem could be with my own site. I could have a problem with indexation, rankings. Perhaps there are some new search results that appear on the search bar which I didn't expect. There could be imprecision issues. And the fact is that when I don't have data, I always have to invent half of it. So what should we have to look at? In URLs which already exist, we have to look at what are the traceable ones and which are optimum for the indexation. You can look on Google to make sure if it's possible to index them. It's very simple for rankings. You can look at the positions, keywords in top X or indexes of visibility. In impressions in the search engine, something important to check. In clicks, sessions, also session clicks in the search engine. This funnel is one single tool that helps us solve several issues. And there are a lot of SEO people who say that they don't like to work like that. But if you start using a funnel, working is much easier because you can just identify different types of data that you need to work on. We have two types of data analysis methods. Horizontal analysis and vertical analysis, which we can also call descending analysis. And basically, it's about data like that. So horizontally, we can follow data over time, and we can look at changes in trends, which can be drops, but also increases. And we should have very clear control rules here to be able to analyze this. If we have a profound analysis, it needs to go over different dimensions and go segment by segment. So what are the exact characteristics of what we need to change? This is what we need to look at. Here you can see the overall picture. We need to add some filters for different dimensions, and this will help us understand the problem. And that's what the analysis looks like, and that's already 90% of the analytics you need to carry out. So the horizontal analysis of SEO funnel looks like that. We just take a couple of indicators because otherwise if we take too many it would take us forever to do. So we take these metrics which are very easy to follow. We make sure that they're as convertible as possible, so closest as possible to the real impact. And for instance, we have the first metric here. This is the conversion following. And it's very easy to look then at the second metric as well. The search engine, we can activate it rapidly. It only takes us a couple of minutes to look at this analysis. And now that we have two metrics, we can see that the indexation has deteriorated. We can see that there's been a decrease in sales. And this already gives us information about the detail. So here you have the numerical data as well. What about the vertical analysis in SEO funnel? We look at rankings here, for instance. If we know that we've fallen in ranking, we need to ask whether it's something that happened before that was related to the rankings, or if it was something that can happen afterwards, whether it's important. And we can look at the changes in percentages in all of these sections. And sometimes we can see the metrics changes which are not important. So if it's plus or minus 1%, we can see that the worst metric here is the change in indexations. So this must be the problem with indexed websites. And now you already know what to focus on. And this can cause you to lose traffic, to lose visits on your site. But every funnel already has its micro funnels as well. And in existing URLs, we can look at this micro funnel. You can use it to be able to specify for what reason exactly the rankings are changing, or the URL counts are changing. And it's when you look at the picture, it might seem very difficult, but it is very useful, I can assure you. We can simplify this as well. So in indexed, we can look at discoveries, searches, indexables, and valid sites. In rankings, we can look at the key elements as well. In metrics and affectations, there are different indicators here that have changed, so it may be a bit difficult to look at the connections between all of these, but it's all possible to do on Google. So in impressions, the microfunnel here has URLs with impressions, with clicks and click rates, and micro conversions and versions. Again, you have the microfunnel here. So some advice. Firstly, create events for all the actions which are relevant to the user. You can use Google Analytics for that. Secondly, learn to create conversions both at the event level and at session level. And finally, be in charge of the creation of the funnel analysis. This will make your work a lot easier. And finally, a few words about clusters. So we can clusterize all of these metrics, and this is very useful because it will help you understand which segment to focus on. Finally, indexation. If we can see that 100% have been indexed on Google, then I will know that, okay, this is not a budget issue, this is another metric that I have an issue with, so I know what to focus on in my work. So this helps us find out that the decrease is due to an 80% of this indexation for products which are the furthest from for Google. And we have all this other data as well that you can see on this slide. So that means we no longer have to invent the wheel, and we have the data. Thank you very much for your attention.